Hi, I'm Stephen Garvey, leader of National Citizens Alliance of Canada, NCA. Tonight, we're going to do something slightly different. It's going to be a question and answer. And for tonight's segment, we're going to look at Facebook comments. So this is your opportunity to share your feedback, ask questions pertaining to NCA Platform, Policies, joining NCA, becoming a candidate. So this is the page right here, and we're gonna track the comments tonight. There it is there. I'm just going to go back here. Oh, thank you, Jason, for joining us. Lori Wilberg's joined us. Wonderful. And I'm just looking here. I'm going to... Looking here, I'm going to go back to this page here. We're doing this for the first time. Donna Barg has joined us. Thank you, Donna. So this is an opportunity to ask questions. We're going to be here for about 30-45 minutes. This here is a policy platform that we did a few weeks back. It covers a lot of the main issues. We got the Bank of Canada on here. You see how NCA is different. Immigration, we're clearly different than the mainstream parties. Trade, right down the board here. Foreign aid, big difference. Bureaucracy, big difference. Withdrawal from UN Agenda 2030, big difference. Canada Pension Plan, big difference from the mainstream parties. Climate change, UN, that is climate change UN agenda is a hoax. Recall of MPs, citizen-initiated referendum, constitutional reform, 9 amendments. Those are only some policies, but it's a good way to compare and understand the policies. I'm going to go back to the live here. Let's take a look at these comments. We got Lori, Jason, Donna. Do you have any questions, Lori, that you want answered? This here, this is another policy comparison we did. Again, political Islam. We want to ban on political Islam. And Section 2 Charter Amendment. Completely different from the mainstream parties. Dealing with Multiculturalism Act. Promotion and enhancement of foreign cultures. Again, we're completely different from the mainstream parties. Separation of religion and state. We're pushing for a secular government. The mainstream parties, their actions and rhetoric, they want religion in government. Islamic, Sikh, in government. So you got a clear choice there. Reduction in MP salaries, pensions, we're the only one talking about it. CBC, we want to reform the mandate in line with promoting Canadian traditional identity, heritage, and culture, and among other things. Affirmative action, we want to get rid of this and replace it with merit-based approach. Thank you, Jason. Jason is from the Maritimes. He says, thank you for what you're doing for Canadians. It is very much appreciated. Thank you, Jason. It is a team effort. team effort of NCA. Please remember that. I have a team behind me. We work together. We work with the Canadian people. There's a lot of Canadians working behind the scenes, helping NCA like yourself, sharing our posts, spreading our message, spreading our policies. So we thank all those supporters out there. And these we would categorize as the silent majority. So what's going on with Al Quds Day going on here, if I may ask? Good question, Jason. This is about political correctness, Jason, in our opinion. This is about extreme multiculturalism. This is about the post-national globalist state. That's what it's all about, Jason. Yet, when it comes to traditional Canadians speaking up for their culture, their identity, their heritage, they are condemned. And yet we have Al Quds Day, which incidentally, we don't think has any place in Canada, and that's part of our ban on political Islam, Jason. But this is the new reality of Canada. Orwellian reality, full of doublespeak, contradictions. Everything is upside down. That's the new reality. That's a good example, Al Quds. Why is this day allowed to be here? I think I answered that, Jason. This is all about political correctness. This globalist UN agenda, undermining traditional values, traditional heritage, cultural norms. That's what it's all about. A spin-off on cultural Marxism, what's called cultural inversion. Inversion means turning things upside down, attacking Canadian nationalism, Canadian identity. All these things are at work. Also accommodating to minority interests, pandering to votes, Jason. This is all at work. I hope Canadians are fed up with it. This same status quo. If you listen to these mainstream parties, they're at it right now, just spinning every day. All these sound bites, just trying to trick Canadians, trick them. They don't talk about the past, the decades of the same. Jason, this is all part of it. Jason says, yes, I agree 100%. Thank you. But this should not be allowed here. Yet government ship these people in on Canadian school buses. Good point, Jason. And this is something NCA would not allow. We think Al Quds goes over the limit with its overt hate, expression of hate, and by indirection, violence. We don't think it has any place in Canada, and we will shut it down. That's what we will do. And that's actually in our policy. I'll show it right here. That's in our ban on political Islam. Let's see it right here. This policy makes reference to Al Quds Day. Right here, ban on political Islam. We talk about banning Quds Day right here. Banning the foreign funding of mosques in Canada. We view this event as anti-Semitic. And it's tied to the Muslim Brotherhood, which we view as a terrorist organization. So that's what we will do, Jason. This is just realism coming out of NCA. We're not playing games. We're not pandering to votes. We're trying to do what's right. we're listening to the Canadian people like tonight. That's what it's about. This is all common sense. Yeah, well, Jason, I know you're fed up. There's other Canadians that are fed up. And thanks for sharing your opinion. We got your back on this issue. This is just common sense. This is just common sense. And these are our policy platform right here on nationalcitizensalliance.ca. These are just 7 points. And we have a lot of other policies. We believe policies platform is the cornerstone of any successful organization. It allows those working within the organization to make the best decisions possible. So we encourage Canadians out there to compare NCA policies to that of the mainstream parties. We've already done some of that, but you take the time, do your homework, and do the comparison. What we noticed is the policies of these mainstream parties do not compare to NCA in terms of thoroughness, in terms of quality. And that should give you a good indication of where those mainstream parties are at. And it begs the question, why is that the case? Is it because they're following an establishment agenda, so policies really don't matter? Is it because there's globalist corporations pulling their strings, so policies really don't matter? It's all political theater. Is that all it is? Dividing Canadians, delusion of choice? Is that what's going on? These are questions we need to answer. Thank you, Lori. Lori's responding here. NCA is the only political party in Canada outing the globalist agenda. 100%, Lori. 100%. And we have a number of policies on that. Probably the cornerstone policy of our anti-globalist agenda is our United Nations policy. We encourage people to take a look at this. And we have a number of measures to deal with the UN, which is at the forefront of this globalist agenda. We talk about withdrawing from Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, eliminating all voluntary payments to the UN and its affiliates, holding a national binding referendum within 6 months of forming government on exiting in full from the UN. Those are only some of the things, but look at that policy. Reggie, thanks. This is interesting what he says. He says, quote, I am not sure NCA can get enough votes to take down Trudeau. Reggie, it's important to remember that Trudeau is only one face of the globalist establishment. One of the control mechanisms of this globalist mainstream parties establishment is to make it all about getting rid of Trudeau, just like the last election, getting rid of Harper. That's how they control, but they're all working together. If you look at the Privy Council, it's all made up of those cronies from both parties. The Privy Council is a shadow government overseeing the federal government. That proves it right now. Harper has been working for the Liberals. He was in India. He's been at other globalist forums for the liberals. They're all working together. So what's on the surface is political theater. So the question that should be asked, or I should say comment, let's make sure NCA gets enough votes to take down these mainstream parties. Just like what's occurring in the UK. With these recent elections in the UK where the Brexit Party came out on top and the crony entrenched Conservative Party was kicked down to the curb, as they should be. We can't keep doing the same, Reggie. Trudeau is just one face. This has been going on for decades. It doesn't matter which mainstream party is in power. It's just the same. The facts show this without question. And Lori says here, Stephen, can you talk about how important it is for Canadians to make a commitment? Being a keyboard warrior isn't going to cut it. Yeah, it's a good point, Lori. Some of our supporters are limited. They're on disabilities. They're very senior, elder seniors, so I can understand in this particular cases where they're restricted to social media. But for ones who have the time, who aren't living in poverty, it's important to balance social media with on-the-ground activity. That includes volunteering, becoming a candidate, standing up for what you believe, because nothing's going to happen otherwise if we keep doing the same. So we're looking for a balance on the ground and social media. Both are important. And we appreciate all our supporters out there who are sharing our message. But as Lori said, balance it with on the ground, direct face-to-face contact with the public, volunteering. Tomorrow I'm going up into part of Alberta. I'll be on the ground tomorrow. I'm meeting one of our candidates up in Red Deer tomorrow, and I'll be up into some small rural towns talking to Canadians. That's what I'm doing tomorrow. But we need to balance this. And this is, I should bring up this chart here, because I want to, there's such a frenzy to get rid of Trudeau, and this is all just part of control game of the establishment. And don't get us wrong, we don't support Trudeau. We don't support him at all. He's just a globalist sellout, just like the rest of the mainstream. But we're not fooled into thinking that just getting rid of Trudeau is the solution. We're not fooled one tiny bit. The only thing we do appreciate about Trudeau, at least he's honest about his agenda. Whereas the other mainstream entities, front persons, are deceptive about their agenda, which is no different than Trudeau. And the history shows that from decades and decades. Understand the history, and it will allow you to see through all the sound bites, the spins, the manipulative tweets. It's all just a game of manipulating now. It's all about just trying to get votes, and there's no substance behind it. But this, where is it here? This graph shows it up the game we did, and we have a video on it. But this is the game. Canadians are being divided, they're misinformed, and they're manipulated. And this is through the false left-right, the false liberal-conservative, multi-controlled mainstream parties, through the media, through suffocating free speech, vilifying true opposition, the mainstream parties doing their political theater, pretending to be something that they're not, misdirecting Canadians, empty promises, making it all about removing the PM rather than looking at the big picture. It's important Canadians look at the big picture. Don't get caught up in removing Trudeau. That's a very negative approach. Think, dream of something better. If all you think about is, removing what you don't like, that's very limited and narrow approach. Dream. Think big. Think big of what this country could be. And then you'll get real results. But if it's all about just removing the entrenched corruption, then it's going to perpetuate the status quo, and you're going to end up with the same thing or worse. That's reality. We need to get beyond that little game. Remember, last election, it was all about Harper, and this was by design. This election, they're trying to make it all about Trudeau, getting rid of Trudeau. And it just goes on. The same game, manipulative game. And I know a lot of our supporters and members can see this. But we need to wake up other Canadians. The true hope here is what's happening in Europe, in the UK. As I mentioned at these recent elections, that entrenched corrupt Conservative Party in the UK, one of their, you could argue, founding traditional parties, was kicked literally to the curb. So there's new voices, new leadership that is rising up, as it should, and it will happen here. It's up to the Canadian people, for them, the sooner they wake up. Jason, Mr. Garvey, you woke. I like this about you. You're straight up with what you say and do not bow down. It shows good character that you have. Thanks, Jason, and I hope and I assume all NCA members or supporters are like me. We're real. Jason, we're non-career, non-establishment. I'm more qualified than all those mainstream politicians. I've never joined a mainstream party. I would never join them because I know they're corrupt, Jason. I wouldn't do that. I want to take them down. That's what I want to do, and that's what the NCA supporters and members want too. We want to replace them. We're fed up, Jason. But this is who we are. We are grassroots. We're humble. We do our research. We focus on the facts. And we tell the Canadians the way it is. But I was thinking today, Jason, about what's going on. Just the spins, the manipulative tweeting every day. You know, they're hiring these companies and they're just hitting key points here and there, but with no substance, Jason. And this must nauseate Canadians. It's the epitome of deception, manipulation that's going on, Jason. But our approach, Jason, is the best way to counter it. We're going to be straight up, common sense, direct. and tell it as it is. We're going to lay out the facts. Jason, that's all we can do. So I encourage people, again, back to this game. Let's make sure we understand this, because this is what's going on, and it's ramping up. This has been going on for decades and decades, and there's many Canadians that are mind controlled. They are conditioned. They are afraid to speak up. You know, right now we're trying to organize events in Nova Scotia. We're hitting roadblocks. But we're going to fight through them because we know what our rights are. We're not going to allow a town's bylaws override the charter and our right to assemble peacefully and exercise free speech within the bounds of the laws. But they try to intimidate people. The political correctness is a form of indirect censorship. The name calling that is going on. Many Canadians are pushed back. We have to have a strong emergent resurgence of new leaders, new ideas, out with the old, in with the new. Do not settle for only removing the PM. That will do nothing. That will do nothing. But don't get us wrong, he needs to go, but he's just one face of the global establishment. One face. He's replaceable. That's all there is to it. Canada, Laurie says Canada was a much better place in the 1970s before the globalists took control. Probably not a lot of Canadians are aware of what you're talking about. At least the older ones would, Laurie. But back in the 70s, it was very high employment, very high individual income. Immigration was neutral, negative. A lot of opportunity for all Canadians. It was a very good time. There's no doubt about that, Laurie. But what's happened, as Laurie said, the globalists have taken over. There was a sellout to these central banksters, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the UN. Starting in the late 1960s, and from there on, all the mass immigration under Mulroney, the affirmative action under Mulroney, the Multiculturalism Act under Mulroney, his globalist trade deals, and then it just continued there. The debt soaring. This is all documented. As we say, factually, since 1968, the mainstream parties have added $663.8 billion to the federal debt, and it's growing. It's more now. It's probably $665 billion now. That is a fact. Canadians need to wake up. These mainstream parties are completely bought and sold. They're run by marketing companies. That's it. They have strings on them. This is just a facade, a game. So we need to fight through it. And the good news is the people that come across NCA, they realize that we're truly a party of the people. That is a fact. So what we're doing is coming off well. It's just who we are. And that is who we are. We don't have strings attached. Nova Scotia, Jason says, is so left-wing, radical. It is not fit here. Even the law is now corrupt. Here, this I can prove 100%. And we're battling it, Jason. We're battling it. We were banned from the Apple Blossom Parade in Kentville this year. Last year, they gave us a lifetime ban. We are pursuing a case against this Apple Blossom board, Jason, in Kentville, Nova Scotia, which is, this board's tied to the Liberal Party of Canada. We're battling venues that are intimidated by many misguided Canadians who happen to live in Nova Scotia. Now we're battling, Jason, the municipalities just to exercise our charter rights to assemble peacefully and exercise our free speech. But we will not surrender. Remember that, Jason, we will not. When they try to stop us, that motivates us, Jason. Because we need to expose this. We need to stop this censorship, this political decay of basic rights and freedoms that our brave veterans sacrificed their lives for, Jason, as you know. We will be coming back there, Jason. We hope to see you in Halifax on June 22nd, Sydney, June 25th, Truro, June 27th. And we'll be doing some events in New Brunswick before we depart. So check our Facebook events. The more people that come out, the better. We're expecting major opposition to us. So the more that come out in support, the better. Laurie says Stephen has an MA degree in political science. Trudeau is a drama teacher. Scheer is an insurance salesman. Who do you think is better qualified to run Canada? Actually, Laurie, just for the record, I have a BA in political science, MA in philosophy from Cambridge with focus on environment and development. But the bottom line, Laurie, these mainstream, I call them front persons. I don't view them as leaders. I call them front persons. They're like this globalist front person, Maurice Strong. That's all they are. They're just front persons. And there's globalist corporations. They're globalists pulling their strings. That's it. They're not leaders in any stretch of the imagination. This is all pretense. This is an entrenched establishment, including the mainstream media. This is all marketing. That's all it is. There's no substance. Carrie says it's corrupt all over Canada. Yeah, it's a good point, Carrie. On all levels of government, there's a real top-down culture, I would say, going on now. Top-down, politically correct culture, Carrie, that feeds corruption. And we all know UN Agenda 2030 is being implemented on all levels of government without the consent of the Canadian people. And none of these mainstream parties talk about it. NCA is the only one that talks about it. So Lori says, so join NCA and help fix it. Yep, if we don't do nothing, it's only going to get worse. That's the truth. But we see in Europe, we see in the US, we see in Australia that there's opposition, true opposition, and they're having success. It has to happen here. That can motivate you to see what's going on in France, the UK, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, on and on. That's the hope of seeing what's going on there. They feed off us. We have people from Europe following NCA. We have American patriots following NCA, and we're helping each other because we're all in this together. That's the reality. Nothing is going to fix what's coming. Yeah, Carrie, that's your opinion. We don't agree. We believe that these globalists can be taken down. They will be taken down. This entrenched, corrupt establishment will be replaced. It has to. It has to. And there's been a lot of progress in the EU, in the US. But you have to get in the battle, in the struggle. Be a positive force. Do not succumb to them. This global world order, global citizenry, open borders, in our opinion, is the greatest threat to humanity. It's the ultimate form of tyranny. Coupled with the AI that's coming. And that's already here. Artificial intelligence. On and on. This is the worst nightmare of George Orwell. That's coming. But it can be broken. Through the will of the people. Thank you, Frederick, for joining us. June 22nd, I will be there in Halifax. Yeah, stay up to date on the event. I was talking to the city of Halifax today, Jason, and we're trying to work out the details. We're dealing with a lot of political correctness, but we know our rights. We're not going to be bullied, intimidated by all the legal language. So we will make an announcement in the coming days. But I'm sure our friends, our misinformed friends in Halifax, will be out in force. The misinformed, misguided Canadians in that city. They're going to need to wake up. They should start listening and start following the facts. But hopefully they will turn the corner. Lori Wilberg. The last election was an anti-Harper vote. This time around, it's anti-Trudeau vote. Haven't people figured this out by now? Yep, good point. It's just a game. Look at the Privy Council of Canada. It's made up of all those mainstream parties. That's a shadow government. They are advising the PM. This is fact. This is all pretense. There's no real opposition in Ottawa. Nothing. Nothing. There's no real resistance to the overall agenda, globalist agenda that's going on. UN Agenda 2030 has never been mentioned in the House of Commons. Mass immigration, nothing. Nothing at all. Your defeatist attitude won't fix anything. Yeah, that's a good point, Lori. Maybe that's part of control, to beat people down that they become defeatist. That's what they want. They're broken. And then they could just continue to walk all over them. Yeah, good point, Frederick here. He says they're all sizzle and not the steak. There's no substance. I see it every day. I'm seeing it. I see it in the tweets. It's all manipulation. It's all kind of like anchor words trying to trigger responses. There's no substance. This is the game that's being played. Yeah, well, that's fine. Carrie, she says she knows exactly what is going on in this country. I know what is going to happen. We'll see, Lori. But we will not surrender, Carrie, and we will fight to the end. We are very confident. We know the facts are on our side. We know the policies are on our side. The only thing that we need is majority of Canadians on our side, Carrie. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Do not lose hope. Oh, here's Brendan here. He says this party is a joke. So this is one of the trolls coming out. Maybe Antifa type. No substance. You see that? He goes, this party is a joke. There's no substance behind it. So Brendan, do us a favor. Look at our policies. And get some substance behind your rhetoric. And maybe we'll take you seriously. But your comment is pathetic. And, try and do a little better than that. Carrie, we're not going to get into de jure government, the myth of Canada. There are laws in this country. There is a constitution, a charter, a Canada Act. It is the fact. So, unless you take power, Carrie, nothing is going to happen. So get behind NCA. Sure, the constitutional history is not perfect, but we need to be in power to deal with these issues, Carrie. Otherwise, nothing will happen. Susan, it is crucial we get out of the UN. NCA or Bernie are our only hope. Oh, Susan, I hate to break the news to you. Bernie is a globalist. He's completely tied to the Koch brothers through the Montreal Economic Institute and the Atlas Network. This is a fact. This guy is pulling a scam. That's all there is. He's working for the Koch brothers and other globalists who support globalist trade, open borders. We have an article on our blog that addresses that. That's the truth. Those are facts. Follow. Murray Jones, do you have candidates in British Columbia? Yes, we do, Murray, but we need more. We will be disclosing all our candidates in the next month or two. But And this is where you can sign up on the NCA page, Candidate 2019, up on our upper menu. And there's just a simple form there. And we have a short video on what it means to be an NCA candidate. Unfortunately, many Canadians are been intimidated by the idea of being a candidate. They feel you may need a lot of money, or you're worried about scrutiny. You feel intimidated running against the mainstream parties. I don't know what it is, but you need to step up and take these mainstream parties on. That's all you can do. Yeah, Kerry's here. The next election has already been decided. If we get to the next election, that's fine, Kerry. But the bottom line is nothing of substance is going to change unless NCA or a party very similar to NCA gets into power. That's reality. So put your energy behind NCA to help us get in there. And then you'll see things happen. But unless that happens, nothing's going to happen. It'll be just the same status quo. Frederick Burns says Bernier created the wireless oligopoly in Canada. Susan, he's correct. And we got a video on this. And that is a shameless act against the Canadian people. It allowed excessively high wireless rates in Canada, all to the benefit of TELUS, Rogers, and the other company. There's 3 of them, but they have an oligopoly now, and it's led to some of the highest rates in the world. And it was all in the name of cutting regulation, which allowed them to kick out the competition, increase the rates. It's wrong. It's been very detrimental to every Canadian. Every time you get your bill, you're paying $40, $20 more than you should be. It's reality. Murray says I ran twice in the Manisa poll government in the township of Langley in British Columbia. I was also president of our union. Excellent stuff, Murray. And like I said, just go to our page. Take a look at the video on what it means to be an NCA candidate. And fill out the form. You sound like you'd be a very strong candidate, Murray. The most important thing is integrity and standing up for the Canadian people and Canada, Murray. That's what we're looking for. We don't want any trough feeders. We don't want any career politicians. We want Canadians to come forth that want to truly serve their people and make this country the best it can be, Murray. That's what we're looking for. We see the corruption everywhere. We see the game, the spins. But nothing will happen unless you take it on. Rise to the challenge. Take on what is going on. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. We're going to do more of these Q&As. Tonight was the first one we've done. It was more of we're testing the ground. But it's a really great way to engage with the public and to share different ideas. We'll be trying to do them once a week, and we will make an announcement about the next one. But please do not lose hope. We're very optimistic at NCA. We have vision for our people, our country. We are very determined, very high perseverance, and we know where we want to be. So please share this message, and please consider joining, volunteering, becoming a candidate, and let's make Canada the best place it can be. Thank you.